Hi, just wanted to talk today a little bit about pricing when working on these Atari boards. I had an inquiry a while ago from someone who wanted a complete resocketing job on 2 Atari motherboards, and I priced up the precision sockets on RS Online. And for the 2 machines it came to over £40 just for the sockets. And I figured if you're gonna, you could have used machine sockets, cheap machine sockets, but I figured, if you're gonna go to all the trouble of removing every chip on the board, it was a 800XL and 130XE. So nothing was socketed. If you're gonna go to the trouble and the risk of removing everything on the board, you might as well use decent sockets. And then there was the question of the time, the labour cost. And I estimated that using this and this to get the chips off the board would take somewhere in the region of 5 to 6 hours to replace them with sockets, and that was probably pretty optimistic. Let's get a board. This is a donor board from the junk pile, but this is a case in point. This board, it's already had some sockets fitted. I assume it had bad RAM at some point. I think I've done something to it as well. I can't remember who did this, but this is basically junk. But you can see how many chips there are on the board. There's 8 RAM chips, various ICs in the middle, 5 40-pin ICs, basic OS ROM. Sorry, I've got a cold. So all of those need to be removed, cleaned up. The chip that came out of the hole needs to be cleaned up. Legs straightened out if they got bent when the chip was pulled out. With some wick, get the solder off the legs. Clean the board with alcohol, put the socket in, fit the socket, and probably every few chips that are replaced, it would be wise to power on the board just to make sure it still works. The reason for that, as I'll show you, because here is a board that someone has completely socketed. Now it's a revision D 800XL, and if I remember correctly, these had no sockets in them at all, usually. So he's taken every chip off the board, replaced it with very nice precision sockets. Now, the reason I own this board is because the previous owner who did this work gave it to me because it doesn't work. It's dead. And I know this because I've populated the entire board with ICs and tested it, and it's stone dead. Why? Who knows? You can see there's been a bit of trace damage at the back where he's put a couple of jumper wires on it. But other than that, I have no idea why this doesn't work. So, presumably this person spent an entire day, or however many hours, going across this board, taking all the chips off, fitting these sockets, and at the end of the job, it doesn't work. And that's the risk. Socketing a whole board, it's a nice luxury to have sockets on the board because it makes testing easier. It's a nice thing to have, but I have never socketed an entire board on one of my machines at all. I've just fit sockets where they need to be fitted, or replaced where they need to be replaced, because it's an enormous investment of time, and the risk is that you end up with something like this, which, although it looks very nice, doesn't work. And that's all very well if it's your board, but if it's a board belonging to someone else and you kill it, then that's on you. So there's a lot of risk involved. So if someone comes to me and says, oh, I want you to just socket this board, you know, excuse me, just socket this board, you know, and, for a reasonable price. What is a reasonable price? Oh, excuse me. What is a reasonable price? Well, the reasonable price I came up with was apparently unacceptable, which is fine. But I just wonder what people think is involved. What people think is involved in this process. It's a big job. So I don't know. It's puzzling. You know, do you think this is going to be done for 25 quid in labour just to do that? Nah, definitely not. I wouldn't spend time doing that for myself for free, and I get my time for free. So, one thing I want to mention is this SysCheck II by TFHH. Now the designer sent me this in 2015. I think the idea was that I reviewed it, which I probably didn't do formally, but this is absolutely invaluable. If you've got RAM problems on a board, at first I used it and I tried it, but as time's gone on, when I've actually wanted to go through a collection of machines and figure out what works and what doesn't and repair what's repairable, I'm using that thing all the time, and it's brilliant because it gives you a visual indication of which RAM chip's bad. I know you can stack RAM chips to eliminate bad chips. You can feel them to see if they're warm. You could probably pour alcohol on the board to see if it evaporates on which chip. But this, you just plug it in. It plugs into the XE series that way on, and I've got a ribbon cable with an edge connector on the back to plug it into XLs. And the other day I had a pile of 800 XL motherboards because I was going through the collection, and I suddenly realised that all of my machines, all the 800 XLs, were in pieces. Just a collection of cases and keyboards. I only had 2 complete machines that actually worked, so I decided to see what could be fixed, and I managed to fix 4 boards in one day, in a few hours, and 2 of them were fixed with this because they had bad RAM. So what I had to do was run a 5-volt power supply to the PBI connector, because the 800XL doesn't have any power on the PBI connector as it comes from the factory. So once that was done, it was just a question of plugging this in, powering it up, and it told me which RAM chip was bad. So that was 2 boards fixed. The other ones were, one needed a crystal and the other one had a bad IC, so that was 4 boards fixed. But I would say this gadget, SysCheck II, has helped me to fix about half a dozen machines so far. Very, very quick. Because who wants to go, I mean, it'd be nice to go through every board and socket all the RAM. It's probably a good idea. It'd be nice to get rid of the empty RAMs which always die. But I don't want to do that. I don't really want to spend the time doing that. I just want to replace the one that's broken, which is what I did. So yeah, SysCheck II, and there's a new revision of this now, and if you're in the business of fixing computers, old computers and Taris, I would urge you to get hold of one of these if you don't already have them. It's a brilliant device, one of the most useful things in the collection, in the arsenal of tools. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say for now, and in the next video I'm going to be going over properly this machine here. Probably wait until I'm not dying, because I posted a photograph of this computer. It's not mine, but I posted a picture of it the other day, and it's still generating quite a bit of interest with a little SIO to SD device on the back. So I'm going to open this up later on and do a little guided tour of what went on with that computer. So until then, that's all for now. Bye bye.